Now I will come about to say something about our specialty practice. Our PG exam, entrance examination is very nearby. So at least there will be somebody who is seeking an admission. For them, special dedication. Medical practice was always been specialized from time immemorial. Because you see, Prithak Tandrani Tenire. Prithak Tandrani means there were specialty textbooks. Kayabala Grahordhvanga Chikilsa Yeshu Samsrita. So, based on the Chikilsa, the basics are not different. Basics are not different. Based on the Chikilsa, Kayabala Grahordhvanga Ashtavangani. So, specialization is a part and parcel of Ayurveda. It is not knowing more and more about less and less. There is generally such a notion. Specialization is knowing more and more about less and less. No, it is not like that. It is a step forward from generalization, no doubt, but not against the rules of generalization. It is not against the rules of generalization. Foundation is same. So, specialization is more about precision. Precision in your approach. Precise application of basics in precise situation with precise tools in the precise time period. That is what specialization in Ayurveda is. Specialization is an additional floor on a strong basement and not a floor without a basement. Many a times we mistake. I used to interview postgraduates for getting recruited as teachers. Very important. So interestingly, many of the specialists who come after their post-graduation, let it be Kaumaram, let it be Prasudi, let it be something else. I asked them, can you just say about what is the treatment principle of Dhadugada Amam, Sarvadeha Pravisrudan Saman Doshan Nirhared, Linan Dhadushu? Actually, they do not remember it. They have learned it in their first BAMS and they have got full marks for it. Then I ask, when you read Ayush Kamiyam last? Scratching their head, they say during my first BAMS. So specialization is not a floor without basement. It should be an additional floor on a strong basement. So if you have to succeed in specialty, don't forget this. Actually, Ayurvedic specialty practice is not like modern specialty. You have all the advantages of becoming a general practitioner with a solid background in basic principles. Plus, you are going to explore new terrains and new horizons. What I told earlier, that means knowing more and more about less and less is actually a blame for modern allopathic specialty. Everybody knows it, but it is not so in Ayurveda. You get to learn and practice a new subject or branch which you should be able to connect with the basic principles. So you are getting promoted to a next level with a firm footing on the basic principles. And you're getting a greater chance for self-expression. It empowers you to make a specific intervention in a specific situation with confidence and precision. That is actually the beauty of Ayurvedic specialty. But identify and get your branch. Again, don't start blaming your branch all throughout your life. Never be the right person in a wrong place. Never be a wrong person in a right place. Never be a wrong person in a wrong place. Be the right person in the right place. So be very specific about your specialization. So with this, I hope everybody will be feeling great. Good. We have some tips, but I'm feeling really sad about many things of Ayurveda. I think I should share it with you, because many of the recent experiences about highlighting Ayurveda as a national system of healthcare, as an independent system. I do not know how far the audience knows certain realities. There are three types of medical patterns followed in different countries. Number one is known as integrative, where multiple systems will be working together in an integrated manner. There are other systems called inclusive. Inclusive means there are multiple systems which will be working independently. Another system is tolerant systems. Tolerant is there is only one approved system, but they will not take a legal action against other small systems which will be there here and there as islands. India is supposed to be an inclusive system. In 1920, that means exactly 100 years back, the All India Congress Committee meeting held in Nagpur passed one resolution that Ayurveda should be accepted as the national system of healthcare. You should see the status of Ayurveda after 100 years. After independence, we went for an inclusive system of medical healthcare, but all through these years, see what has happened, especially in this situation of the global pandemic COVID-19. Most of the situations, Ayurveda is kept aside, and slowly it is just becoming something. Actually, in this 100 years, we should have developed into an integrated model. That did not happen. Instead, I'm afraid by the end of COVID-19, India may become just a tolerant system. So, what about the success of Ayurveda as a community? As individuals, we have great models. I can show you 100 successful Vaidyas or 500 successful Vaidyas in Kerala itself. Nationwide, there may be thousands. But what happened to Ayurveda as a community? A community of Vaidyas. Did we succeed? Or is there any shortcut to bring about success? I should say that it is yet a dream. It is yet a dream. We are yet to reach the point of success. There are many reasons, many points which are to be addressed as a community. We need extraordinary academies with passionate, dedicated faculty members who will have greater causes to follow than personal gains. Very sorry to say. Just for a piece of bread, everybody is ready to sacrifice the Shastra. So how can you succeed as a community? Extraordinary academies are built on the foundation of extraordinary faculty members, not on extraordinary strong bricks, not on extraordinary infrastructure. Academies are made by extraordinary faculty members. The other day, I was talking in a webinar called Freedom of Ayurveda, hosted by Ayush Valley Foundation by respected Dr. Madan Thangavelu. And in that session, Dr. Darshan Shankar was making a statement that we lack leaders for strategic intervention. At that moment, I was not convinced about it. After that session, actually, I contemplated on that point. It is true. We lack leaders for strategic interventions. We have n number of people. We have n number of people who are very close to health minister. We are very close to chief minister. close associates of central Ayush minister, very close associates of prime minister. But when it comes to the point of Ayurveda as a community, we fail for the lack of leaders for strategic interventions. We lack capacity to listen in policy making. After 100 years or 70 years of post-independence, Ayurveda is nowhere in the public health domain. It is more about tourism, not about health. The cow of Ayurveda is not residing in the cowshed of health department, but in the cowshed of tourism department. That should not happen. We need more public health expertise. We need more publications of class. And above all, individuals, everybody in this group who is listening to this should be proud to be known as Vaidyas. You should feel proud that I am a Vaidya, because be proud to be a Vaidya, paradharmo bhayavaha. Don't claim that you are somebody else. Don't claim or don't pretend to be somebody else. You are a Vaidya and be a Vaidya and proud to be a Vaidya. Let us stop personal glorifications. Be very critical, very introspective. When somebody is making a class C comment, immediately we put our this smileys or whatever this called these days in fonts and everything. We start showing our thumbs up, our muscles. Wow, great, terrific. What a great fellow. Please stop that. To stop personal glorifications. Nothing is going to happen with the personal glorification. Let us all come out of the euphoria of the past. Let us make our system contemporary without losing the spirit, stuff, logic, and the philosophical foundation of Shastra. Let us all work together, because you are only the trustee of the system. You are not the owner. The system should flow through you to the next generation. When it flows to the next generation, it should be updated. It should be made Yuganirupa Sandarbham. You have no right over it to claim that you are the owner. So let us work together and harder. Now you decide. We have three types of Vaidyas: Vyavahakarikas, Shastrajñas, and Tattvajñas. Vyavaharika Vaidya, they are the most wanted one, the base level physicians who is working among the public as practitioners. They are the public face of our system, and we have plenty of them. Intelligent, young, energetic army of Vaidyas, Vyavaharika Vaidyas. But what about the next two levels? About our Shastrajñas, who understand the Shastra in depth, who can teach the principles and practices of the science in the most systematic way, live and lead by example, and bring up the youngsters. I'm very sad that most of the BIMS graduates in the country are practicing allopathy. Not my words. Mr. Jairam Ramesh, in a discussion in the Lok Sabha about the Ayush, was making this statement. Actually, that should be, every Vaidya should keep their head down. He was making the statement that nearly 80% of the BIMS graduates are practicing allopathy. So where is our Shastrajna Vaidyas? Where is that generation of Shastrajnas? Then about Tattvajna. They should have the insight in the logic and philosophy of Shastra. They should have the wisdom about the basic pattern of operations of life and nature. They should be researchers. They should make the Shastra contemporary, and they should be the feeder source for all other classes of Vaidyas. Where are our Tattvajñas? How many of us are becoming Tattvajñas? Maybe I can name a few. We don't have so many Dr. P.M. Unnikrishnans. We don't have so many Dr. Ram Manohars. We don't have so many others who are working hard that way. So we are actually starving for the second and third category of Vaidyas. So we do not succeed as a community. See, there are many other types of Vaidyas. Shastravada Radas, merely engaging in argumentation on texts. They might not have seen anything in their real life. They might not have used anything. I know one teacher who is teaching Shalyatandra will not take even one Vettumaran Guliga for his own use. So Shastravada Radas, he can chant the text from the top to the end and the end to the beginning. Then another category is Shastravid, one who has knowledge of Shastra. Then Shastra Nishthas, one who lives in Shastra. And Shastri Bhuda, one who has become the Shastra. So we need this second, third, and fourth category of Vaidyas more and more. But unfortunately, what we have in abundance is these Shastravada Rathas, the first category. And Shastra, learning Shastra and learning about Shastra are entirely different. At present, we are learning about Shastra. That is why we collect 20 information about Ama. We learn about Ama. We don't know what Ama is. That should change. We should learn under mentors in the academy, no problem. In the formal academies, I don't want to take everything out of it. But we have to learn Shastra, not about Shastra. About Shastra is a mere academic exercise. We have to be present in the society as working models, not as textual scriptures. These are all required in our research field. Interdisciplinary, cross-disciplinary, multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and transdisciplinary. Research should not be a mean for getting a promotion. That should change. So with this, I think I have taken a lot of time. I have gone out of the context many a times, but I definitely hope that all these things will be the leading points for becoming a successful Vaidya. Really sorry if I took extra time. Really sorry if I criticized somebody, but I really wish to say this in front of you because I'm talking from my heart, not from my brain. Thank you very much. And I hope we will have something else in this session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Prasad, sir. Really thought-provoking session, sir. Thank you for that. Yes, we have to work hard, as you said. There is no denying it. There is no denying that if we don't come together, we will not succeed, sir. And, it is very sad to see that in the state of Kerala, especially that I know of, the Ayurvedic people were brushed aside and we were not even given a chance to, help in this current pandemic situation. And it is sad. And this Bamba Rasulud we have started with such a vision, sir. The thing is like, if we are considering ourselves, the Ayurvedic fraternity as a team, we are as strong as our weakest link. So this is an attempt to, study hard, to update ourselves and, progress. So our motto is, let us grow together, sir. So I hope, yes, and I am very sure some people are having some doubts. I'll go to Dr. Vaidya Anjali now. Vaidya Anjali, hello?
Hello?
Yes, you can ask.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Yes, a quick doubt I wanted to ask for beginning practitioners. I really find it very difficult to be successful in the history taking aspect. So, sir, can you please guide us further on how to take successful history and what are the requirements we should have for that? Thank you, sir.
Hello, Prasad sir. Please unmute. So you have to unmute. Hello, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Sir, hello.
Not. What was the question? Can you
Sir,
just repeat, please?
okay, 1 second. I'll Dr. Anjali, Vaidya Anjali, right? 1 second. Yes, Dr. Vaidya Anjali, please raise your hand. Sorry, please ask your question 1 second, please.
Yes, sir. I wanted to know, I'm finding it very difficult to be successful in history taking aspect when in clinical practice. I wanted to know the requirements, how should I gear up myself in line with the principles of Shastra to take a successful history, sir. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I think I'm getting muted in between frequently. It's okay.
Okay.
See, what I would suggest is, even after completing the graduation, the BIMS, what an enthusiastic learner can do is put maximum time on organizing what you have learned so far. And if you are an undergraduate, don't rush into specialty practice in the beginning. If at all your plans to go for specialty practice, select only a very limited portion as specialty and don't stick on to that alone. What I would suggest is you should.
Hello. Okay. Hello, sir. I think some network issues there at your end, sir. You are getting disconnected.
I think it is. I'm getting muted again. No problem. So I would suggest to go through certain chapters in Ashtanga Hrudayam, at least the Sutra Sthanam, which I would list out. Ayushkamiyam, Dravyadi Vijnaniyam, Doshadi Vijnaniyam, Doshabhediyam, Doshovakramaniyam, and Dividhovakramaniyam. Read these chapters, at least 1 or 2 chapters every day, and try to explore whatever cases you find. Maybe it is a 1 case a day, doesn't matter. In the light of these chapters, what you read, and in due course, you will find excellent result in diagnosing, even without focusing on Nidana Sthana. Because diagnosis in Ayurveda is not in terms of name of a disease, but
Kindly be patient. Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, we are doing only 3 things. Number, identify the dosha. Number 2 is identify the sthana of the dosha. And number 3 this identification is concerned, it is more about dosha, its sthana, and nidana. When you speak about dosha, it is not in terms of vada, pitta, kapha, but its avastha as well. Whether it is purana or nava, whether it is sama or nirama, whether it is lina, whether it is utklishta, all these things. So with this basic understanding, for a beginner, they will be well versed in understanding the Vyadhyavastha clearly. Then you go through any of the Nidanasthana chapters. Parallel to this, find at least 5 Kashaya yogas or whichever yoga you prefer to for each avastha. 5 Kashayas for each dosha avastha. For Vada, okay, fine, 5 Kashayas. Pitta, 5. Then for Kabha, 5. And understand out of this 5 for Pitta, which suits which avastha of Pitta. So in time, maybe 6 months, 1 year time, you will have a strong grip over some solid resources which you will be able to use with confidence. And as and when your practice is increasing or improving, definitely many things will be added on to this spontaneously. So keep on learning your Swadhyaya Grantha with a new light. That is what a beginner can do. Definitely that is going to be a successful model.
We have Dr. Rakshita asking a question now. Dr. Rakshita, hello.
Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Thank you, Vaidya Prasadji, for that wonderful session. Sir, my doubt was, it's also that the external factors around us are influencing us on becoming successful Vaidyas. I would like to mention that firstly, it's our education system where we are more concentrated on different texts in different years rather than one on it. What is your opinion about that, sir?
See, we cannot change the system immediately. The education system has got many problems, but we cannot wait until these things are getting rectified to become successful. So we have to be legitimate Vaidyas, legally qualified Vaidyas, following that school. No other option. Meantime, as our own effort, we have to follow one Swadhyaya Grantha. And if possible, find your mentor, either in your own college or outside the campus, no issue. And because the advantage of learning one Grantha under one Guru is that whatever you learn from the beginning to the end will be giving you some sort of a transformation. For example, take the example of Ashtanga Hridayam. The first line start with Ragadirogan Sadadanushaktan Asheshagaya Prasrudan. So it starts with the Raga and a worship to that deity, that Acharya, that Vaidya who succeeded in completely uprooting the Ragadiroga. From that the text starts, and that text ends with another sloga. Hridayamiva Hridayamedad Sarva Ayurveda Vangmaya Paya Payodhehe Kritva Yet Subhamaptam Subhamastu Param Tado Jagataha. So there the author is setting an example where he himself is quitting all the punyam that he is going to be gained by authoring the textbook for the wellness of the Jagat. So these two slokas in the beginning and the end, actually that gives you some sort of a cultural transformation, which you cannot expect when you learn this Ashtanga Hridayam under 14 departments. So whatever the system asks you to follow, be with it, doesn't matter, because it is a basic requirement. But out of sheer will, determination, or whatever factors we have discussed so far, learn one independent textbook, preferably Ashtanga Hridayam, that being the smallest one and given in verses. Continue learning all throughout your life till the last day of your life if possible. That is what I mean. Hope I am clear.
It is with the last breath that we know what a last breath is. So we'll go to next question, sir. It is by Dr. Anand. Dr. Anand, hello.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Yes, sir.
It was wonderful, actually reminding our basics again, going for the basics and understanding and reading continuously. But my question is, which are the Brahataris? It's been mentioned in Brahataris to read continuously, but which are the chapters you have to read in Sushruta and Charaka? Vagbata, you are all reading actually, but how to include these two also, sir, in and apply in our day-to-day practice also?
Actually, there are no conflicts in putting Charaka Samhita or Sushruta Samhita in your day-to-day practice. What I would suggest is, They are higher textbooks where you will find more precise, more sophisticated and specialty type of applications. You will go to a broader horizon or a wider horizons of clinical practice, no doubt. But as the basic thing, you stick on to one text. If you are free enough, if you are confident enough to adopt Charaka Samhita as your Swadhyaya Grantha, very good. You have upgraded yourself to the next level, no doubt. But to the beginner, I would suggest to start with Ashtanga Hridayam, that's all. With due respect, I would say that Charaka Samhita or Sushruta Samhita, of course, Sushruta Samhita is even still better, easier. But taking Charaka Samhita as your Swadhyaya Grantha for clinical practice makes you uplifted to a higher level of clinician. So definitely that is worth following. We should reach that level. But for the beginners, I would strongly recommend Ashtanga Hridayam. That's all.